listening to the Nerdy Harry podcast.
The Nerdy Harry.
You know what? I got that.
Watching the Nerdy Harry channel.
Hi, Nerdy Harry.
You're watching the Nerdy Harry channel.
Hi, everybody. I'm Anthony, and
I'm Joey.
And we have been gone for a while, but we're back. And all right, so Joey, how have you been?
I've been good, man. Real good.
We've got a lot of catching up to do, but so let's just jump into it. Let's jump into the pool and get going. Are you ready for Walking Dead? It's this weekend, correct?
Absolutely.
Man, so what did you think about the first half?
Well, I think it served its purpose. I mean, you know, a lot of people were upset with how slow it was, and it was a little mundane as far as what they were doing, but you had to set this up. Now, I think what I predicted is going to come true the second half of the season is that it's going to be either, well, it's going to set up the war with Negan, you know, and the Saviors. So now that Rick has saw the light, you know, and says, well, either I'm rather die fighting than live in chains, you know. So, I mean, it's what they're going to do, you know, and they're going to all band together and they're going to maybe not go to war with Negan this year. You save that for next year.
Yeah.
But you get the alliances made and
do you think they're going to have to go to Tara's little Amazonian women there?
I think that'll be probably later on in the rest of the season. But yeah, they have to because I mean, that's where all the weapons are. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting because she made that promise that but she's got to. I mean, if they're going to have a war with Negan and them, but yeah, I'm really excited for it. I loved how. You know, a lot of people have been aggravated with this. At least people that I work with and that I've talked to on the side a little bit have been really aggravated with the season. I think it's been a really good season so far. I think it's been good writing. I like the fact that I was a little aggravated that it took so long to get them all together, but I understand it. It's how you do writing for TV shows. So in the mid-season finale, you get them together. And like you say, we're probably not going to see that big battle until it'll be a teaser at the end of this season, leading up to next season for the big battle. But it's amazing how fast now they're really catching up with the comics.
Oh, they're right on cue with it. And, I mean, they are actually following the comics almost to a T. And I've not read the comics, but I keep up with it enough and know people who do read the comics. Mm-hmm. And it's basically right in line with what the comic books are doing.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, because Game of Thrones has done the same thing, or Game of Thrones has surpassed. Mm-hmm. You know, I wonder what happens when they get to that point, if they're right there with the comics. Does The Walking Dead just keep going ahead, or do they start slowing it down a little bit?
I think the comics are still probably 1 to 2 years ahead, though. So
really? Okay. Yeah. See, I haven't read up on it as far. I've just heard through the grapevine that
I just know in the comics, the battle's already been fought, and it's been over with for a while, and they're already on to enemy number 5 or whatever. You know, I mean, I'm just making that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're ahead quite a bit of where we are right now, so they are catching them. But that being said, now they can slow down. Yeah.
Have you enjoyed Negan? Is he your favorite bad guy, or did you like the governor a little bit to this point?
Oh, I think Negan is a better bad guy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just because I just think the governor was. Now that I've read about it, the governor was just done completely wrong. Mm-hmm. Early on in the seasons, you know, in the first 2-3 seasons, they took some liberties with characters, and now they're not doing that as much. And I believe that Negan is just by far the best villain so far.
Yeah, I wonder if. Let me check this mic here, sir. Let me turn that up. Okay, great. I wonder if they regret doing some of the things they've done with the characters in the first couple of seasons. I wonder if that was all Kirkman's. Okay, I'm sure obviously he okayed it, but it's amazing how, like, I know I tried to start reading the comics after I guess it was probably third season, and I was like, wow, this is so different from the comics. But like from what I've read somewhat is now, like you said, that they're starting to go with the comics now. And I just wonder if there's any, I guess not. I mean, look, they're owning network television right now. But I'm really excited. I think I'm excited for this part of the season. And this is what a show is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you excited to continue to watch the show. And we're in season 8, right? Or is it 7?
7.
Okay, season 7, and their ratings are still mind blowing. So that being said, so let's move on. All right, so we've had a ton of trailers drop here recently. I'm going to throw a couple of movies out there, and you tell me which ones, trailer-wise, that you really enjoyed the trailer. We got Logan, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Pirates of the Caribbean 5. So which one did you like out of those that really kind of...
I mean, Logan's the best one I've seen, and I'm not a huge Wolverine fan, but this looks like a totally different type of Wolverine movie. I want to go watch that in the theater. I mean, obviously Guardians of the Galaxy will be good, but they haven't shown much. But Logan has shown quite a bit, I think, and I believe there's still a lot more to be had out of this movie. You know.
Yeah.
I've never was a big Pirates of the Caribbean fan, even though I've been off today and I've actually watched Dead Man's Chest, but you know it's been on TV. But I mean, I'm not a huge Pirates of the Caribbean fan. I do understand that they're doing a new trilogy with Pirates of the Caribbean, and this is the start of a new trilogy.
Maybe Johnny's just trying to pay bills since the divorce, and she's taking, what, 60% of...
Yeah, I do find it interesting that Will's going to be back in this, you know.
I
read
know.
that the other day. You know, he's going to look totally different. He's actually in the trailer, the last one that dropped, just for a split second.
I've seen that, just that little bit.
Yeah, playing that Davy Jones character, I guess.
I like the first and the fourth one. I didn't like the second and third one because I didn't like what they did with Keira Knightley's character. But I like the first and the fourth one. I thought the fourth one was kind of bringing momentum back to the movies. And Javier Bardem, I mean, that's all you need for the bad guy. I still, to this day, No Country for Old Men is one of my favorite. His Antoine Sugar or whatever his name was in that was like one of my favorite bad guys of all time. So Pirates movie, number 5, Dead Men Tell No Tales. Yeah, Logan's the best trailer that I've enjoyed as well. You know, it just looks like it's going to be a good final chapter to the Hugh Jackman story. And I'm going to ask you your opinion on this. So, do you think the girl's his daughter?
No, she's the clone. She's X-23.
Okay.
I'm almost positive she's X-23.
Okay.
Because she's got the 2 claws. She looks a lot like him. I mean, I guess you could go on the limb and say, well, if he ends up raising her, then she is his daughter, basically. But she's not his daughter by, natural conception. She's a clone of him, I believe.
Yeah, because I thought it was interesting that Patrick Stewart said something in the trailer. He's like, "Don't you know?" Obviously, I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, is this his daughter or something?" So you know more about the X-23. What is that exactly?
X-23 is just a clone of Wolverine in the comic books that was a female, and she sort of took over the Wolverine mantle, and for the X-Men. And you know, if you notice, the girl even has adamantium.
Yeah.
So she's got everything that he does, which means that she can't be born with that.
Because I was like, there's no way that adamantium can be in his sperm. How's he going to spread?
Yeah, no, he's not spreading no adamantium, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where she's the new hope of the mutant kind, I think.
Do you think moving forward they may go female Wolverine?
Absolutely, yeah. I believe that is a possibility if they do any more set in the future. Yes, I believe they will, because this is set in the future. What they say, like 2029 or something like that.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't know that.
See, I've seen that somewhere, and I think it's supposed to be like 2029. It takes place after Days of Future Past when you see all that stuff happen. But it's like it's going back to that old timeline, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
You have the X-Men movies that reset the timeline. And
exactly.
Then this is actually going back to the old timeline, you know.
And so, like, really, you're going to watch the X-Men movies now going, okay, so Logan's going to be the ending chapter for whatever we see on X-Men. Technically, if you're going to throw Patrick Stewart now in there as Professor X.
Yeah, you know he's dying, too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Logan dies, too. So.
Yeah, I could see that as well. And just to put But now there's also the rumor of Hugh Jackman possibly being in a Deadpool movie. So do you think they leave that open, possibly? I mean... Sure,
yeah. I mean, it may not be as like a main character, but... You know, I think that bringing on Cable is a...
What do you think about the Pierce Brosnan?
It's terrible.
Yeah, thank you. Finally.
We already have a Cable, you know, I mean...
What? So who are you talking about for Cable? Who do you think's like the perfect Cable?
What's his name? Steven...
Dude from Avatar?
Yeah. He's
Thank
perfect.
you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Right age, right look. everything.
And he wants it. Why wouldn't you give it to the
Stephen
guy?
Lang, yeah, that's his name.
Lang, yeah, perfect, awesome. Yeah, because I was reading stuff online. People were like, Pierce Brosnan would be amazing. I'm like,
no, he wouldn't.
Are you serious? Like, what in his repertoire has shown you that this guy can take cable to that next level of being a movie star?
He's not even built right.
I know. I was blown away that people were wanting this. And I would seen, people drawing stuff, throwing it out there immediately.
From the neck up, I could see it.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that. You can do that with just white and shaving and yada yada. But like, I think Stephen Lang is the perfect cable, and I hate that they're just not even gonna. They're not. That's off the table for them, from what I've read. That they're not even gonna consider that.
Well, I guess that Brosnan's good friends with
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds. I guess they're tight. So I mean, whatever. But
yeah,
I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, well, and
that's just my personal.
Ryan Reynolds looks like he's got a hold of this Deadpool thing, because after what's his name, the director left from part 1. I can't remember. Do you know?
Tim Miller.
Thank you. Which I've heard. Maybe you can help me out with this. I've heard rumors of him possibly directing a superhero movie coming up.
What is that? Maybe it's Spawn, actually.
Okay, so we talked about this off air before we went on here and did this. We think. What do you think about them doing another Spawn movie? Do you think that needs to happen?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to do comic book movies, there's a lot of people that don't know about Image Comics. I mean, a lot of people that don't know about it. And in my opinion, if it's done correctly, which the first one unfortunately was not, I mean, Spawn could be like one of the leading comic book franchises.
Yeah.
Just because of what's there, the content, and the depth of the character. There's a lot of depth to Spawn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a guy who, basically was willing to give his soul to
What's
Satan
a love
himself,
story?
Exactly, to come back to his wife. Unfortunately, he didn't realize really wholeheartedly what he was doing. But of course, then he takes that evil power he has, which I'll say it's the power of Satan himself in a sense. But he uses it for good. To fight on the side of light instead of the side of dark. Even though it's a dark comic and a dark story, it's really a story about redemption.
Yeah.
And
very true.
There's a lot you could do with that.
Yeah, and we both agreed on this before. We said the only thing that we liked about Spawn 1 was John Leguizamo. And I'd almost be fine with them getting him again.
Yeah, bring him back.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would love to see I think we both agree that it would be great to see another Spawn and just done right. So let's see, what else we got here on the agenda? Okay, so Legion. Talk to us about Legion, Joey, because I missed the premiere on Fox.
All right, so Legion, the premiere was like an hour and a half. I guess you can call it the pilot. It's really a head trip, man. It's like I was telling you before we started the show. It's designed to be that way. Legion is, if you don't know who Legion is, his name is David Haller, and he's actually the son of Charles Xavier. And Legion.
See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so. and Legion is in the comic books. He is. They did a host. Chris Claremont created Legion, and back in like the late '80s, early '90s, and he was basically designed, even though he was almost psychotic in a sense. I mean, he was schizophrenic or whatever you want to call it. When he can absorb the powers of other people and their personalities.
Oh, so it's like a rogue thing, I guess, kind of.
Kind of,
as
sort
far
of, but
powers.
He has the mental capacity of Professor Xavier. He has some of the powers like what Jean Grey would have,
That's a really powerful guy.
He's like possibly the most powerful mutant ever, but he can't control his powers because he's almost like he has these different personalities in his head. Now, the show doesn't show that per se, but at least in the first season, or the first episode, I mean. But, that's probably because they're just going to take it they're going to simplify the storyline a little bit with him. But I thought it was well acted. I thought it was well written. Visually, it's actually really stunning in a way. It's very colorful. There were times I didn't know if I was in the 60s or if I was in the 80s or if I was in the future, because they do a mixture of like costume design and settings and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
And it keeps even the viewer guessing right up until the very end. Is this real or is this all in his head? Because he just thinks, he doesn't know he's a mutant. He just thinks that he's crazy.
Now, okay, so, okay, I got you. I'm following you now. He doesn't realize he is.
Because he's just been told he's crazy. He's he's been, since he was like a young, 20-something, like in college, when he had his first really psychotic episode where he unleashed his power, and they show that in the show.
Are they going to start tying this in with the movies? You know, like the way Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does?
It's in the same universe, but I don't know if they'll ever do that. But now it might tie in with the new X-Men series that they're getting ready to start shooting here in the next month or two, because they're casting that right now. I could see them doing that. And the rumor is that at some point in the series, you will see Charles Xavier. It probably won't be McAvoy or Stewart. They'll just cast it as somebody else. Because like they said, you can't pay, movie actors the money they want to play a character for 10 minutes in a show.
Yeah.
Not everybody's Samuel Jackson where they'll just do it for free just for the fun of it because they like playing the character.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to want money. I could see Stewart doing it, but Stewart, I still, like I said, it's a head trip. I don't really know where this movie's set. I really don't, as far as the timeline. I don't know, because watching the show, it's like, I don't know. I don't have a clue.
I want to watch it. I just forgot all about it. And X-Men, as long as it's got X-Men, because I love the X-Men. I'm really excited for it. And when you mentioned it the other day on the Facebook page, I was like, I forgot that it was on. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So is there any names to this at all, or is it all just a new group of people that we've never even seen before?
You're talking about actors?
Actors.
Well, Aubrey Plaza's in it. She plays like
really?
Friend, yeah.
Wow.
I won't go into too detail with that. There's another girl who's been his girlfriend, quote unquote, as they call it. Mm-hmm. She's in the show. Jean Smart's in it. From like Designing
Women, old school.
I'll just spoil this. She's almost like a Professor X type person in this. I don't know exactly what she's a
strong female lead for the show.
Yeah, she's a strong female lead, almost like a leader of some mutants or something like that, a resistance or something like that. Hang on a second. There's another guy that he was interviewing, but I don't know if that guy's gonna be back or not, just because I don't know what they're gonna do with it.
Right.
You'd recognize him if you saw him. I just don't know what his name is. The main character who plays David, I don't know anything about him. He's an English actor, but he seems he gets the sort of the crazy twitches down really well, like the eye movement and how he does things, and I think they've cast that role very well to be the main role. Which that's the trick.
I wonder if Singer's got anything to do with as far as producing.
Singer is a producer. Laura Schuler Don. What's her name? Laura Schuler Donner.
It's not Donner, is it?
Donner, yeah. Laura Schuler Donner. She's a executive producer on it. Yeah, they're part of the show.
Wow, that's
even
good.
Even Stan Lee and Joe Quesada and all them are executive producers. So
awesome.
It's a legit Marvel product, but they just FX want to do something sort of edgy. Because they do a lot of edgy shows, I think, anyway. Mm-hmm. And they saw this character as being somebody they could really have a lot of fun with. Because, like I said, with the hour and a half, first episode.
Well, the good thing about it is, too, like...
I don't know what they're doing, I don't know. It's like, whoa.
And FX has got a little more broader range as far as, like, they can do more stuff than, like... Which, you've told me how much Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., how great that is. And they're constrained to a certain extent with censors and everything. FX has that opportunity to kind of push it. They can use more
curse words, they can drop some S words and,
But I'm sure, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has a little bit more money to work with, I'd imagine.
Well, yeah, as the ratings as held strong and the following has gained momentum with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they spend more money on it now.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell when you watch it. It looks different than it did 3 years ago.
Yeah, I definitely want to watch Legion. So thanks for the heads up on that. Moving on, we talked about this a little bit. We won't talk too much, but off air we talked about the Iron Fist trailer was released this week for Netflix, which, as Joe and I talk about, Bruce Wayne, Part 5. Basically here we go again with Bruce Wayne's storyline. But still, we both did agree also that Netflix finds a way to make solid TV shows. So what'd you think about it? Were you like, or excited?
I was more than it looks good, but I'm like, I'll just wait to see what they do. I'm just more excited to see what the Defenders, which was weird because that comes out this year too.
Yeah, I know. It surprised me too that they're doing both of them this year.
And I don't get why the Punisher comes out next year. It's like, wow.
And you made a great point. Just give us the Punisher before you give us Iron Fist. We'd much rather see that. Although I'm sure there's some people that are maybe there's some Iron Fist hardcore fans out there, but I doubt there's any more than there's Punisher fans. But anyways, I thought the trailer looked really good. It was interesting to see Rosario Dawson once again.
I think she's going to be a little more of a main character in this too, just like she was in.
It looked like it. This is out of all the trailers we've seen on the movies, this is the one that featured her the most.
Yeah, is she going to be like the sort of pseudo leader of the Defenders? Maybe?
She's going to be the one that kind of brings them all together, from what I read.
That's what it looks like. I mean, her version of the night nurse, is that's kind of strange.
Did you ever watch Luke Cage?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I did until the last couple episodes. It almost like it started to drag a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, because I like Luke Cage. I think it's a great character. It's a great character for so many reasons.
Yeah.
For the ethnic reasons and for, it's like a lot of people say.
It's strong minority.
Yes.
Lead characters.
African Americans in the 70s didn't have someone to look up to.
And that was and the comics, and I'd really like to read some old Luke Cage, because he was called Power Man, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'd heard the comics were actually really good. I mean, they kind of actually had good writing, and I'd posted that on Facebook a couple weeks ago. I had no idea that Nicolas Cage had got his Cage character from Luke Cage. That comics had such a big influence.
I read that a couple years ago
on him, and like I said, the trailer looked. I thought pretty good, but Netflix is going to do what they do. Solid, good stuff. I do have a question for you, since we're talking about superheroes right now. Do you think we're going to get to a point where we go, another superhero movie, another superhero TV show?
Yeah, you could get to that point. I mean, right now, like I've said before, probably, I know I've said it in previous podcasts, and I've said this for a long time now. Every generation has its genre that you turn to.
We're definitely in the superhero.
Our parents was Westerns. Westerns in the 50s and 60s and even early 70s were huge. Then you get into the crime stories.
Like the 70s with French Connection.
The rogue detectives, like with the Charles Bronsons and, the Dirty Harry movies.
Right.
And I mean, even,
like I said, Papa Doyle with Gene Hackman.
Exactly. I mean,
that's very true.
And then now,
80s, you had what, more sci-fi-ish?
Sci-fi. You did more of the science fiction based movies.
What would we call 90s? Romantic? Was it the romantic?
I think
time?
It was. The comedy romantic
rom-com. There you go.
And just comedies in general. You didn't have a lot of. I mean, you had a lot of great dramas, but if you think about it, the movies I remember from the 90s are the funny movies. Dumb and Dumber. Yeah, Dumb and Dumber, and I'll just do a segue, like the Wayne's World movies and stuff like that. Austin Powers, things of that nature.
Yeah, which we need to come back to Wayne's World. Good.
Dumb and Dumber. I mean,
there's something about Mary. I think was 99 or something like that, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. So it's just funny because I love comics. I love comics better than I do movies. But I mean, I always enjoy seeing somebody's imagination put up on the screen. It's great sometimes to see that. I mean, obviously they're not always going to nail it. I think now Marvel's done a really, really great job of getting their comic book characters on the screen. And like you've said before in other podcasts, Iron Man wasn't nothing. Robert Downey Jr. made Iron Man very mainstream, very popular today. Because I think if you look at 20 years ago, an Iron Man comic.
I care about Iron Man.
Exactly. And I don't even know that Iron Man comics are great right now. It's just we like seeing Robert Downey Jr. As Iron Man. But I can see myself not getting tired of the superhero movies and or the genre even in TV shows. But, I don't know, man. We got Justice League coming later on this year. Let's just go ahead and talk about this too before we get to. I do want to get back to Wayne's World. But so the big news, not Zack Snyder, but Ben Affleck is not directing the Batman movie. What's your take on that? What do you think's going on? Is it nothing or is it something?
I don't think it's as bad as what it seems. I honestly think, and I've kind of done some more reading on that, I really think Ben just realized, you know what? Trying to direct something just way too much. And he's still going to produce. He's still going to star in it. I think it's a smart move. Just be Batman. Be Batman and have your money tied up in it.
And it's not like they're not going to go, okay, we're going to do all this other stuff. They're still going to refer back to him. They're going to get his opinion on these things.
I read yesterday that the script, or maybe today, the script is great. And it is like they thought about rewriting it, but they're not, and it's supposed to have the Joker and several other villains in it.
Can we get Hush maybe?
I would love to have a Hush, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you if you're a true Batman fan, or if you're not a true Batman fan, and you're just sort of starting to get into it, maybe because Affleck's playing Batman or whatever, you want to see this new take. I think Hush is the perfect.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite, and I'll say this because of you. It's one of my favorite. It's my top 3 probably graphic novel of all time that I've ever read. It really surprised me. You had told me about it. Sadly, being a comic book fan, I had never read Hush. I tend to go more towards Justice League and Superman, and I didn't read as much Batman as I should have. And Hush was amazing. So if you haven't read Batman Hush, read it. And I agree with Joey. It needs to be made into a movie.
It's a perfect movie.
Mm-hmm.
You could do a 2.5-hour movie. It introduces you to every supervillain, Batman, all the important ones anyway, that he's ever had to fight. Plus, it gives you a great and awesome new villain who is on the level of Batman, in a sense. You know, especially brain power.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing, too. The movies have never gotten into the fact of how cerebral Batman really is.
Mm-hmm.
And
they've gone away from him being a detective.
Yes, I mean he's the world's greatest detective.
That's his title.
I mean, yes, he's a bad man. And
I never really thought about that until now. Like every Batman movie we've got, they've never really went into the detective part of his superpower.
The most I've ever seen was in The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
With the bullets and
That's true. That's true.
But that's it.
Yeah.
That's really
you just got that one little scene where he's kind of breaking it all down into that.
Yeah.
But this should be like in every movie of Batman because like he's a Sherlock Holmes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He is the man. That is his superpower, other than will. But yeah. So you posted this with a big no. Zack Snyder. So what do you think?
Well, I've always said this, and I like to say it's one of my favorite sayings. The definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect the same result, or expect a different result. It would be insane to have Zack Snyder do this. I'm sorry, but why are people upset with the DC universe right now? Zack Snyder.
Mm-hmm.
I think Zack Snyder did a wonderful job on Watchmen. He did an okay job with Man of Steel. I think he almost phoned it in on Batman vs. Superman in a way. I mean, I see his vision on screen, but it just didn't work.
I think it was too big for him.
It was too big.
And, because Watchmen was under the radar. 300 under the radar.
Yes.
Man of Steel, a lot of pressure there. And it didn't live up to the hype, which I like Man of Steel.
Oh, I like it too.
But it didn't live up to the hype of a Superman movie the way it should have done. But Batman vs. Superman, I think he just had too much. I think it was just too much of a movie. Whereas Zack Snyder is good is when you don't expect it from him. And now we've got Justice League movie coming at the end of the year, which I'm really scared for. I'm excited and scared at the same time because I want it to be amazing. And, I hope Jeff Johns has had his say in there because it needs to happen. He needs to push Zack's side a little bit after watching Batman vs. Superman. Because it's funny, I've got that up there on Blu-ray. And most of the superhero movies I've got, I can watch it anytime. Batman vs. Superman, I found now, I go, I'll just watch it later. I don't have that want to watch it again. And it should not be that way, man. And so, so when you made the comment, or when you had said the other day a petition that was being made for Zack Snyder, I'm like, what are they talking about? I mean, the Wonder Woman trailer looks amazing, and that doesn't have Zack Snyder directing it.
But, I've heard negative reviews on that, though.
Really?
Yes. Like, visually stunning, but story is terrible. I mean, I'm being serious. I mean, it's like, oh, are you kidding me? It's so deflating. You have the best characters in all of comic book history at your disposal. And you cannot make just a good movie. Yeah. I'm not saying make an Oscar-worthy movie. I'm not even saying try to live up to Marvel standards, but just make a good movie.
Yeah, and that's
people will flock anyway.
And that's what they've done, though. They're trying to be Marvel, and as far as the grand big movie here and bigger than the Avengers. And look, the reason Marvel is at where they're at right now in the cinematic universe and on television is because they've built up to it. They've established a foundation. They created the characters. They let you get to know the characters. And DC has just said, boom, here they all are. and watch this movie because they're in it, and Superman and Batman. It's like, you don't understand. There's a bunch of people that just know the name of Superman and Batman,
but don't know the background.
Exactly.
Don't know the history.
Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman. Like, show these people. Like you've said before, and I mentioned a few minutes ago, people didn't know really about Iron Man or I shouldn't say they didn't know about him, but he wasn't in mainstream until Marvel created the backstory for him. So you got to know him and liked him, and you cast it right. And DC has just said, here they all are because it's these people and you should like it. And it's like, no, not everybody's nerds. Not everybody reads into this stuff and reads into the background. So,
well, another thing too that DC needs to do too is, they need to follow what Marvel has done. Find the best and most talented, freshest directors out there. Mm-hmm. Script writers, screenplay writers, and say, come in, take these stories, and I want you to write a screenplay, and I want you to write a screenplay, and I want you to write one. And we're going to pick the best one of the three. And then we got 3 or 4 guys that we've got signed on for directing duties, and we're going to pick the guy who thinks that he can turn that vision into the best one. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
And I don't run a movie house. If I wish I was a billionaire, I would probably start my movie house and say, DC, come to me.
Yeah.
I'd buy them from Warner Brothers and say, to heck with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We're gonna take this over, because I honestly think it would take someone like a person who is indebted into the stories, who loves the characters.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of seeing it just as dollar signs.
And here's the thing. It's not like Marvel hasn't screwed up before. Because, look, they made Hulk with Ang Lee, and they got a name in Ang Lee, and they threw Jennifer Connelly in there, and Eric Bana, who I like Eric Bana, but they got Ang Lee, and they tried to use that to push it.
But it was the wrong director.
And it was horrible, man. It was just horrible. But you know what they did, though, Joey? They learned from that mistake.
Yes.
And what they do, they just started back from scratch again. And even though, we're not going to get Edward Norton, again, but they understood that they messed up.
But the Edward Norton, other than him wanting more money, I would be fine with him if he was.
I would have loved it. I thought he did great.
I thought he did great as Bruce Banner.
I did too.
So,
But the point is, Marvel understood they messed up and they fixed the problem. DC's problem is, they're going, no, this is our brand. They'll like it because it's our brand. It's Superman. It's Batman.
It says Warner Brothers and DC on it.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
and that's where they're messing up. Who knows though, man? Justice League could blow our socks off. Let's hope so. But that being said, let's go back. We're going to switch gears big time. Go to Wayne's World. Yeah, I know we're going from DC complaints to Wayne's World. 25 years, man. Wayne's World has been out.
I know. That's a long time, man.
That is so crazy. I was in high school when Wayne's World come out, and it was like, I remember the soundtrack was amazing, and it was a movie that, adults probably weren't like, oh, we got to go see that. But like, if you were from like 13 or 12 to like 30, you're like, that was an awesome underrated movie.
I knew it from Saturday Night Live because I was like 12 or whatever, but it was cool to stay up late on Saturday night and watch Saturday Night Live, and you got to see them on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And when they was making a movie, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think I went to the theater and watched Wayne's World.
I seen Wayne's World 2 in theater. I didn't see Wayne's World 1. I wished I had of.
I got to go watch it in the theater. Wayne's World is one of, if not the best, Saturday Night Live movies.
Well, that's a good question. Is it the best Saturday Night Live movie?
As far as one it's based off of it, yeah, I believe it is.
As far as a character, yeah.
Because they don't have a lot, They got MacGruber and they got
Austin Powers.
But Austin Powers wasn't really a.
That's
character.
true. I'm sorry. I was just thinking Mike Myers. You're right.
I'm talking about an actual character from
MacGruber, which MacGruber was better than what I thought it would be. Yeah, it surprised me.
But it's stupid. But
it's completely stupid. When he's in the graveyard, he's with a ghost. That's so wrong. But the movie's actually, if you're a MacGyver fan, you appreciate MacGruber.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, I would say Wayne's World. Yeah, that's probably the best. Oh man, I wish I'd have thought about that one beforehand. But yeah, it's just crazy to believe now that they're in their 60s. Probably, I'd imagine, right?
Yes.
Our Wayne's World guys, Wayne and Garth, are in their 60s, man. That's father time.
I know.
You can't defeat it. Just ask Muhammad Ali.
I was reading some things back the other day, and they were talking about how Mike Myers was going to walk off set if they didn't let Bohemian Rhapsody be in it, because they didn't want it. He didn't like the head banging. Yeah. He thought the head banging was stupid, but then he was going to have it cut. Yeah. But then the audience thought it was great. You know, they just little things like that. I was just like, what? You know, I mean, that's crazy.
Well, and remember, we did our podcast about Wayne's World, and it seems so long ago since we did that. And they had Stairway to Heaven in the movie in the theaters, and then when the studio found out, the musician studio found out about it, they were like, no, take it out. So now on DVD and tape, you hear something that's not Stairway to Heaven, and it points to the sign, no Stairway, and it's like, denied. And it's like, no, in the original, he played Stairway. He was trying to play it.
Stairway to Heaven.
And Garth is an awesome drummer, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Dana Carvey's awesome.
He does actually do the real drumming in it. And I didn't know this, but the waitress at the donut shop.
Stan Mikitas.
Yeah, it's Stan Mikitas. Or Al Bundy.
Yeah.
Because that's what I knew him as.
What did you say? Is it a crime to kill somebody in the heat of passion or something like that? You're like, what the? Wait a minute. Hello.
But the waitress in that was married to Mike Myers from 93 to 2006. That was his wife. He met her on the set.
Wow.
I was like, wow, that's cool. I didn't know.
Wow, I did not know that. Interesting. I wonder if that's the one that they had a lot of, because I know with his first wife, I thought they had a big messy divorce because she was like running all his stuff. That's not the blonde-headed one. It was the dark-headed one, right? That's one. Yeah, that is her. Because I remember seeing her on Inside the Actors Studio when Mike Myers is on there. Because I was sitting there thinking, the blonde-headed one was his wife? But yeah, you're right. The brown-headed chick, the brunette. Yeah, because he was on Inside the Actors Studio one time talking about how amazing she was and how she run everything for him. Like, she was his manager, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think they had like you said, 2006, they had a divorce, and I guess it was pretty ugly and stuff, especially when she's your manager. That can't
worth
be.
a ton of money, too,
Yeah.
because of Shrek.
Yeah.
And Austin Powers. But Shrek made him more money than anything.
Yeah, he's probably loaded, or was loaded at some point.
You know? I mean, that's his thing, you know.
Yeah.
Well, Austin Powers is too. But.
Yeah. Okay, so that being said, let's go ahead. We're fixing to wrap it up, but I wanted to ask you, I threw this on Facebook last night, Keanu Reeves, overrated, underrated, or just due?
I mean, I think he gets his just due. I mean, I don't think he's overrated or underrated. I mean, he's never blown my socks off by any role he's ever taken that I've seen. I haven't watched John Wick, and I said that. I mean, I don't know why, I just haven't. But I know a lot of people love it, and the new movie's getting great reviews. And
what's it on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm not sure what on Rotten Tomatoes, but I know on Metrics it's a 75.
And you said that's the highest. Like, we were looking at our Atom, or you were looking at your Atom app, and said it's the highest one at Cookville Theater right now that they have over there. They got some pretty good movies over there too.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, of course, 50 Shades is like the dark, or is like the 50 Shades Darkest is like the lowest rated one, but no one's going for the they're not going for the Shakespearean acting in that. You know,
nobody lives theater going, I thought the story would be so much better.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one reason why they're going to watch that. But that being said, yeah, I was surprised. I'm like, wow. And I mean, I saw a little excerpt I was watching The Matrix today. I'll talk about that for a second. The Matrix was amazing in 1999, and The Matrix is still amazing today.
It is today. Part
Almost
1.
20, the first one.
Yeah. Part 2 and 3.
Garbage.
I saw Part 2 and 3 in the theater, sadly, and oh man, I was so mad both times.
It's like, what were the Wachowskis thinking, man? I mean,
the
they should have just left
sisters.
it at the first one. Yeah, the sisters. If you don't know, they used to be brothers, but now they're sisters.
Now they're women now.
But I mean, what were they thinking? I mean, it's like, what was wrong with this?
Just leave it.
I mean, the second one was okay.
Yeah, because the highway scene is amazing.
That's one of the best things I've ever seen on film.
Ever. And it's so amazing that they built that entire road in Australia, right?
Yes,
I think?
out in the outback in Australia. Outside of Perth or something like that.
For that one scene, and it is so amazing.
For that one scene.
I would actually watch Part 2 and just go, okay, I'm just going to fast forward to the whole scene because it's a long sequence.
Yeah, they spent like $25 million just to build
and then
a 2-mile stretch of highway or something.
Yeah, and then they got is Part 2 got the huge orgy scene where they're all dancing and you're like, what the heck? I went to the theater and seen that with a buddy because I was like, oh man, this is going to be great. And I'm sitting there and they got the whole orgy cave scene. I was like, yeah, this is awkward.
But I got the point though, what they're trying to do. They just were out there, man. The first one, I think the low budgetness of the first one is what made it great. The grittiness of it they kept it confined in a sense.
Lawrence Fishburne is even really cool. Morpheus, that's one of the most underrated characters in movie history is Morpheus, man. Yes. Lawrence nailed him. And Carrie Ann Moss is amazing. I mean, like, dude, you can't.
So bad, dude. It's like, gosh.
I mean,
and she was like 40 then.
I had a huge crush on her after that movie. I was like, oh my goodness, she is amazing. Not because she's just pretty and stuff, because she kicks butt in that movie.
That's what I'm saying. She's just bad, and you look up bad, there's her picture, and then you can look at all the.
And she still looks the same.
Yes, even today.
17 years later, 18 years later.
She's in the TV show Humans. I've seen.
Yeah.
I think that's why they were playing The Matrix today.
Wasn't she in Jessica Jones also? Was it Jessica Jones that she was in?
Yes, she plays the lawyer in there.
Yeah, I mean, you're like, oh my goodness.
She don't look much different at all, and she's probably 55, 60 years old now.
Her and Keanu must have taken some kind of youth serum on that set because Keanu freaking still looks like he's in his 40s, and he's got to be mid-50s, right?
He's got to be mid-50s.
And the dude still looks like, and it's funny because they've still talked about doing a Bill and Ted, but possibly as their sons would be kind of the next, and him and Alex Winters, who plays the other Bill, obviously, right? Ted is Keanu, Bill is Alex Winters. And they've talked about they're really good friends actually still to this day, and they've been trying to work on script for years. But man, I think Keanu. I agree with you. I think Keanu has got his just due now. Like if you'd asked me before The Matrix, I'd have been like, Now like Point Break is my favorite Keanu movie of all time. But like even then, it was like Bill and Ted's good. It's funny, for what it is. Speed's really a good action movie.
Speed's a good movie. It's a fun popcorn movie.
Yeah, but I think over the years he's just he's kind of gone on a limb and done some things, and he's been a little more picky though on some things too. But I definitely recommend John Wick, Joey, if you get a chance to watch it. It's just a cool action movie. Yeah. And okay, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, guys. It's great to get with Joey again and do some Nerdy Harry, and I know I've been asked about at work, and I've been asked about on Facebook and through text when we're gonna do it again. Well, folks, we are back and we're doing it again. So, Joey, it's been great talking to you again, man, and I'm looking forward to the next one. So,
absolutely.
Okay.
We should do one in a week or two. That way we can talk about The Walking Dead.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got some Logan coming up. So I think that's going to be worthy of. Because remember our very first one was Batman versus Superman. No. That's been almost a year, man. That's crazy. Guys, by the way, why should we even tell you to watch Countdown to Geektown? Because they've been...
Yeah, well, we're done plugging them, guys.
They've plugged it. Their show has been so consistent, and good kudos to those guys. But seriously, listen to those guys if you get the chance. And thank you guys for your support. You continue to support us on Facebook, and thank you for the kind words on asking us when we're going to do this again. And so
Jesse, I won't be on Barstool Sports sometimes too. By the way, I want us to be in.
Yeah, that picture it did look like him. Dude,
it looks exactly like him.
Yeah, even he admitted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the feeling. Well, I mean, you and I have talked about it before, like. Because you've gotten a lot with the Brad Pitt and me with Tom Cruise.
Well,
I
get more DiCaprio these days and ages, because I've gained a little weight in my face. But, if I just dyed my hair blonde and shaded, I'd look like DiCaprio with the peach fuzz beard. And
yeah, I'm more like Joe Pesci, as much hair as I'm losing. Yeah. But, hey, guys, thanks so much for listening to us, and let's wrap it up. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Joe.
Hey, guys, take care.
Stay nerdy.